I'd like to bring the June 16th, 2022 meeting of the Interboro Board of School Directors to order. May we have a roll call, please, Ms. Caldwell?
Mr. Willis?
Here.
Mr. Fralinger? Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Goldsboro?
Here.
Ms. Joseph? Ms. Fagan? Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Chavone?
Here.
Mr. Phelps?
Here. We have the invocation of pledge, please, Mr. Walsh.
Certainly. Heavenly Father, please hear our prayer. Bless all schools, colleges, and especially the Interboro School District. And grant to this board in the deliberations this evening the spirit of wisdom, truth, and knowledge. What is undertaken always be done in charity and in peace. And what we do might be for the benefit of others. All this we ask in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to number 2. Do we have any public comments here, Mr. Evans?
Yes, sir. First up, Mr. Pat Quinn.
Hey, good evening, school board and Bernadette. Wanted to stop in real quick. I know around the country, school boards and schools get beat up, so I just wanted to stop by and thank you guys. I think you get beat up. First off, I should have been here 2 months ago, but I was stuck in a bunch of meetings the last 2 months. But the basketball program for the boys and girls went on almost no hitches at all, other than mask requirements and irate parents and all sorts of other things. The good news there is we kept 900 boys, 450 plus girls from 6 school districts active and playing sports during the winter, which was a great thing. And I can't tell you the number of people who told me that Interboro has done such a great job with that. Bernadette, her staff, which obviously applies to the board as well, reached out and made it possible. And Bernadette will tell you we had a number of incidents with parents and we survived that as well. So that's the first thing. Second thing, we put up a banner program. I'm sure you folks have seen some banners up there in some of the communities. Will be done at Nova by next week, I think, and then all banners will be up for first phase. Could not have done that without Bernadette and Marge and Adrian over here in the corner. These guys stepped up, the staff stepped up and helped us. So once again, Interboro is stepping up, not just teaching kids, but helping the community teach kids as well. And those banners go a long way because I've had parents stop me to tell me their kids are looking at them and they're talking about the veterans, what they've done for us. That was the purpose of that, to honor the veterans and to honor our kids. And finally, number 3, we went to the Holy Cross Cemetery a couple weeks back. The school district heavily involved in that, busted a bunch of our kids out there to help our veterans. Every year we have less veterans putting flags on the cemetery plots of the veterans who have passed, and they see that as their solemn duty. So for them to see buses of kids pull up and help the veterans, I mean, I just had veterans just reach out to me over and over again. So I had to come out here and tell you folks, thank you, Bernadette, thank you, the staff, Marge, all you guys pulling together, the staff that showed up and helped Bernadette, it was just tremendous. And like I said, the veterans, they were ecstatic. And I think we're going to be stuck doing this for the next 50 years, Bernadette. We've got to come up with a plan.
It's a good thing, Pat.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next is Amy Forrest.
Hi guys, Amy Ferris, 1122 Pennsylvania Avenue, Foster Park. Couple things, I just want to say thank you so much for getting us through a school year, in building, unmasked, all those things. Thank you so much for all your hard work on that. I just had 2 quick concerns. One, I saw on the agenda that we're going back to virtual meetings. I'm hoping that's just for the summertime and that we're going to be back to in person come September. I'm sure it's something that's going to be spoken about at the end when you announce the next meeting. So I just wanted to, you guys know my concerns about virtual meetings and like in person. And I think it's important that we're in person, but I understand summertime and all that. So I'm hoping that's the case for those meetings. I'm seeing some head nods. And then also, and this is probably something I should talk to Mrs. Riley about, but I'm just going to bring it up. I'm trying to join the diversity, inclusion, and equality group. I just feel like I don't know what's going on with that group. There's not any meetings, communication, things of that nature. And if that's something that we're bringing into Interboro School District, and it's a big part of it, especially with No Place for Hate being introduced this year, things of that nature, I would just like to, and this isn't a knock against Dr. Abbott at all, But I would just like to see more involvement and communication and meetings as far as that goes. And again, I apologize, it's probably something I should talk to Mr. Riley about first, but I'm standing on here, so I just thought I'd mention it, so. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Is that it there, Mr. Evans?
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to number 3.
Motion 3.1, that the following minutes of the regular meeting of the Interboro Board of School Directors held on May 18th, 2022 be approved.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Next, we will hear from our solicitor, Mr. Boudoir.
Good evening, Mr. Phelps, fellow board members and members of the public. My report is brief this evening in terms of general closing of school years and issues that the admin brings in an attempt to wrap it up. But one of the things that happened today was the common level ratio for Delaware County was released by the state of Pennsylvania, and it is 72.1%. This will be the second year after the reassessment. The number should not be at 72.1%. That shows some significant issues and disparities with the reassessment that was done. We were at 70-some%. We were in the 60s as a result of needing the reassessment. And if you'll recall, I had raised some concerns about the impact of the reassessment and the fact in which it was done. But we are back down to 72.1%, which could indicate that if it continues to decline, the common level ratio continues to decline, it is reflective upon whether the current assessment system is valid in itself. So it was a significant drop from 100% last year to 72.8% this year. So that is reflective of the increase that people, the incredibly hot housing market does play into that as well, but it also captures some of the inequities and the challenges that we raised when it took place. So it'll be an ongoing area of concern, and I would expect a significant number of litigation matters as a result. Thank you. That would be
Thank you, Mr. Kruger. Okay, moving on to number 5, Mr. Evans.
Motion 5.1, that the treasurer's report for the month ending May 31st, 2022 be approved.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 5.2, that fund disbursement in the amount of $3,643,605.96 be approved.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Is there any correspondence, Mr. Evans?
No, sir.
Okay. Number 7, committee reports. We have 7.1, Delaware County Intermediate. Mr. Harris.
Okay, this one is heavily Interboro, I should say. The Delaware County Intermediate Unit Board met on June 1st, 2022. 14 school districts have approved the election of the following individuals to serve as members of the Delaware County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors for a term of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025. Chester Upland, Fred Green, Interboro, Ed Harris. See the connection? Radnor School District, Bradley Moore, Ridley, Christine McMenamin, Southeast Delco, Sheree Monroe. Appointed to the following as a result of the board reorganization: President Tracy Kozlowski from Garden Valley School District, Vice President Ed Harris from Interboro School District, and Treasurer Ed Norris, Chief Financial Operations Officer of DCIU, Solicitor and Special Education DCIU, and TCTS Michael Raphael Cubio, LLP. Board Secretary Dr. Joyce Mundy, Assistant Director, Executive Director and Teaching and Learning at DCIU. The next scheduled Board of Directors meeting will be July 6th. On August 3rd, 2022 at 6:45. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, moving on to number 8, the presentation, the proposed final budget. Ms. Ryder?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Phelps. I am going to sit here so I can work the PowerPoint. But yes, I do have a brief overview tonight of the upcoming 22-23 proposed budget. So first slide is just an overall of the budget that is proposed for the 22-23 school year. Couple of highlights. We have seen an increase in special education costs as well as cyber expenses. There were no increases to healthcare as the district is locked into 2 years for medical. We did not see an increase in prescriptions either. Contractual obligations are the major increase to our budget. 78% of the budget is the total for salaries and benefits for all staff members. What is the status of our fund balance? The district has reached 7.9% with an 8% as being the max in the uncommitted fund balance. The uncommitted fund balance cannot be more than 7.9 of budgeted expenditures. Therefore, the district must reallocate the amount over the 7.9 to committed. This evening, the board will be voting to commit $669,000 and $669.83 for future capital improvements for the project. The $133,645 surplus from the tax increase is included in that number. The proposed tax increase is 2.35, which will equal a 25.0844 millage rate. This will generate approximately $1,042,000 in additional revenue. In that left column or picture, you will see beginning in 2012-2013, the tax increases for the district up through the 21-22 year. You will notice 2012-2013 was the year that the district did do a 0% tax increase. And after this year, next time we do this presentation, that will actually be off the chart. On the right, we do show some of all of the other districts within Lee County and what their proposed final increases are on the right-hand side. These are subject to change based on their board's final approval of the budget. So what does a proposed 2.35 tax increase, how does that impact our taxpayers? The average assessment in Interboro School District is approximately $152,000 with an increase of 0.5759 in the millage rate. It's approximately $88 a year for an increase. And as you can see from the chart, it changes depending upon the assessment of the house. Federal grants. We did see a decrease in our Title I and Title II based on some of our demographics, economically disadvantaged, as well as other factors that are determined by federal programs. The district is spending down the ESSER's ARP grant funds as it is reflected in the chart. The grants will continue to decrease until the money is fully spent. We did increase access funding based on the district having more efficient billing practice and an excellent access coordinator overseeing the process. We do have a number of additional staffing positions for the next year. The district is working with Prospect Park, Borough, and Police Department to add an SRO officer up at the high school. We are using ARP ESSER funds to add 4 primary reading specialists to the district, 1 for each of the community schools. We are adding a behavioral specialist that's being paid through Access. Technically, the term is a BCBA. We've added a few supervisory positions in technology, registration, and facilities. We're adding an assistant principal for the kindergarten and virtual academy, and we are adding a payroll specialist. What's happening in Harrisburg? There is quite a large amount of money that is being proposed through the governor's budget that will provide Interboro with some additional funds. If the budget were to go through as it is proposed today, Interboro could see a potential increase in basic ed funding of $2.3 million, and for special education would be approximately $460,000. That money would be considered revenue, and then at the end of the year, the board would have to decide what to do with those funds. That is the budget presentation for this evening. It will be posted on the website. If anyone from the public has any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or Marty High School, our Director of Finance. I would like to thank the board, the Finance Committee. Mr. Chabon, thank you very much for your support through this process. Also the directors, who really worked very closely with Marty and me to work through their individual building department budgets and really trying to maximize how we're using our funds to best provide for the the students here in the district. So I'd like to thank them for that. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. We appreciate that. Mr. Evans, moving on to number 9.
Motion 9.1 is a roll call motion that the Board of School Directors adopts the attached final general fund budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2021, which might be a typo, to June 30th, 2023, with proposed expenditures of $74,955,903, requiring an increase of 0.5759 mils over the current millage rate, resulting in a tax increase of 2.35% for a new total millage rate of 25.0844 mils. So to clarify, that's July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2023.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for the board?
Mr. Phelps, just a quick comment.
Yes, Mr.
I know Ms. Riley just gave the presentation, and I know we're about to vote on it, but I did also want to thank Mrs. Riley for working diligently along with the board. Not only just this year, I think over the last 5-6 years, we've had challenging budgets, with furloughs, draining the fund balance. Raising taxes is never something anyone wants to do, but we are in a good position. 2.35 is still a tax increase, but it's the lowest we've done in almost 10 years. It's the third lowest in the county as of right now. And we still have a little bit of a fund balance, and that includes $200,000 committed for the high school renovation project. So all of that being said, we're still able to have a minimal tax increase. So I think that just shows that this board, the district, the administration has been frugal. We're also utilizing that ESSER money and the federal grant money to the best way possible, so that it's not a one-time payment, and we don't see any dividends from it. So I just want to thank Mrs. Riley and the board, the committee members, Mr. Harris and Mr. Evans, and then everyone else that shows up to the meetings. It's been a long 6 months doing the budget, but I'm glad we're here, and I'm happy with where we're finally landing.
Thank you, Mr. Chabon. Myself, if I could just say, I was on the board when we did the 0% increase in 2013. And at the time, it sounds like a great idea, 0%, but in the long run, it hurts you more than helps you, because if you notice, if you saw like a year or two later, the increase was 3.2% because we were lacking so much and we had to play catch up. And I think it's much better to keep it on an even keel rather than be all over the place. So, and look, I was pushing hard for 0% because everybody likes, hey, he's 0%. But I'll be the first one to admit that was the wrong position, I think, at the time. I think we would have been better off even if we did 1% or 1.5% or just something, because one factor that plays in, everything goes up every year. Everything costs more every single year. So if you don't put a little something in there for it, sooner or later it'll steamroll right over top. Any other comments? Hearing none, Ms. Caldwell, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Willis?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Goldsboro?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Chabot?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. Next up, Mr. Evans, number 10.
From the Office of Personnel, motion that the following personnel actions be approved, starting with 10.1 and going to 10.12 on page 6.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried 6-0. Next up, Mr. Evans.
Motion with regret, sorry. Motion with regret that the following retirements be approved, 11.1 to 11.4.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Myself, again, you can see the number of years with these retirees, dedicated employees. I'll tell you, we have some of the best people in this district. They're so loyal, so, they just love to be here, and we love to have them. And we do appreciate their long-term longevity of years, because nothing comes with anything more than with experience. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next up, Mr. Evans.
From the Office of Curriculum and Instruction, motion 12.1 to 12.22 on page 9.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Just a quick comment that Dr. Ecken was going for the record with 22 agenda items.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried 6-0. Next up, Mr. Evans.
From the Office of Special Education Pupil Services, motion that the following items be approved, 13.1 to 13.13.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried 6-0. Next up, Mr. Evans.
From the Office of Technology, motion that the following items be approved, 14.1 to 14.9 on page 12.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried 6-0. Next up, Mr. Evans.
From the Office of Finance, motion that the following items be approved, 15.1 to 15.5 on page 13.
Second.
Motions have been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Phelps.
Yes, Mr. Shabbat.
15.2 is the motion that, for the public, that Ms. Riley was mentioning about committing funds to our fund, or from our fund balance because of the requirements of being 8%. So the capital improvement projects, that's $669,000, that as a board now, we can determine, where to spend that throughout the district on capital improvements. And we appreciate the public's input when you come to meetings about that, especially back a couple months ago when there were a couple people from the youth club came and, expressed their frustration about good old gym. There are things that, we may not necessarily be aware of day to day. We appreciate the input and, we are more than willing to entertain ideas to spend that money, especially on the community schools. Because, we're doing the high school renovation, the community schools can get updates as well. So we appreciate the community feedback for that. That's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shabbat. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried 6-0. Next up, Mr. Evans.
Motion 16, that the Board of School Directors approve the final program of studies for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, Ms. Caldwell, can we have a roll call on this, please?
Mr. Willis?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Goldsboro?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Chabot?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 17 is also a roll call motion that the Board of School Directors approve the final 2022-2023 school year calendar.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, could we have a roll call on this, Ms. Caldwell?
Mr. Willis?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Goldsboro?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Chabot?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 18, that the Board of School Directors approve the contract with Kid Stop before and after school program for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, Ms. Caldwell, can we have a roll call on this, please?
Mr. Willis?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Goldsboro?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Chabot?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 19 is also a roll call motion that the Board of School Directors approve the cost proposal from McGraw-Hill for the purchase of digital and print resources for traditions and encounters, a global perspective on the past, 7th edition, for the high school advanced placement world history course at an amount not to exceed $5,780 to be paid from district funds.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, Ms. Caldwell, can we have a roll call on this, please?
Mr. Willis?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Goldsboro?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Chabot?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 20 is also a roll call motion that the Board of School Directors approve the cost proposal for the comprehensible classroom for the purchase of digital SOMOS Level 1 and Level 2 resources for the high school world language program course at an amount not to exceed $2,220 to be paid from district funds.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, Ms. Caldwell, can we have a roll call on this, please?
Mr. Willis?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Goldsboro?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Chabot?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 21, that the Board of School Directors approve the cost proposal from BOSIS Teachers Discovery for the purchase of digital BOSIS resources for the high school world language program at an amount not to exceed $1,000 to be paid from district funds. Also a roll call motion.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, Ms. Caldwell, you're up.
Mr. Willis?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Goldsboro?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Chabot?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 22, that the Board of School Directors approve the independent contractors agreement between Interboro School District and residency officers Scott Dixon, Justin Kelly, and Steve Edmonston, effective July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2023, not to exceed $10,000 each to be paid from district funds.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Myself, I'm glad to see we're getting a little bit more help for Mr. Dixon. There's a lot of work with the kids trying to maintain the discipline of them, finding out where they're living, where they're going, what's going on. So I know he will appreciate this help.
Yeah, Mr. Phelps, I was going to make a comment after this next one, because they sort of go together. But I agree. You know, allocating this money, I think, will help in the long run when we find, you know, that some people, you know, are using addresses that they're not necessarily living in. That I think that it ends up saving taxpayer dollars. So we're allocating this money, but in the long run, we're being financially responsible for taxpayers of the community.
Absolutely. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 23, that the Board of School Directors approve the agreement with Thomas Reuters Clear, that's capital CLEAR, for a period of 36 months to assist with the residency investigations not to exceed $15,000 paid from the district funds pending solicitor review.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 24, that the Board of School Directors approve the athletic trainer agreement between Interboro School District and the Prospect CCMC LLC for a term of 3 years, July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2025, for 1.5 FTEs at a cost of $48,000 per year to be paid from district funds.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next motion, Mr. Evans.
Motion 25, that the Board of School Directors approve the resolution in support of the PA school funding litigation for fair funding to be presented to our Governor's office and our local state legislators.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Do we have any old business?
Mr. Phelps, only that if I may apologize for the interruption, I was remiss in my report. I should have indicated actually some good news, and that was that the Interboro School District had a zoning hearing on Monday evening in front of Glen Olden Borough for the district's new property. There were some use variances and dimensional variances that were necessary. I'd like the board to be aware, and I personally thank Mr. Galloway and the district's professionals for all their assistance in preparing for that. Everybody was singing from the same hymnal, and when you get to zoning hearings, they're pretty dry, they're pretty boring. The actual legalities of them, and we dotted every I, crossed every T, and all of our requests were approved. I should have mentioned that earlier. I apologize. Thank you very much, and thank you to Mr. Galloway and the district's professionals.
Thank you, Mr. Alrighty, we will now hear from our superintendent, Ms. Ryan.
Thank you. I'm going to be very quick this evening. I would just like to congratulate and best wishes to our retirees this evening. As Mr. Phelps said, there's a lot of years of experience there, and I do wish them well. We have immunization clinics running this summer for our students. If we have new students registering or students who have to re-register, we will be reviewing immunizations, and if students are behind or need to update, we are providing clinics here right on site at the district, so there's plenty of information available on the website and also in the letter that parents are receiving. Also, registration information. It is registration time. We've had a lot of families completing the online registration forms. I highly recommend parents, if they have to do re-registrations, that they really start that process quickly and get it done to ensure that children are starting school on time in September. Other than that, I wish everybody a wonderful summer and hope to see everyone again in September. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Do we have any comments from any board members?
I have a comment.
Mr. Harris.
Just want to congratulate the graduating class of 21, 22. They're off to a great start.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Alrighty, hearing none. Please visit the Interboro School District website at www.interboro.org for further information on the meetings listed below. The next work session of the Interboro Board of School Directors will be held virtually on Monday, July 18, 2022 at 7 p.m. The next regularly monthly public meeting of the Interboro Board of School Directors will be held virtually on Wednesday, July 20th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.